guys, what we're going to do today in this video is kind of a back to basics. We have been doing our guide classes that come free with the purchase of the machines, and here the last couple of weeks we've been doing the embroidery classes. And after the one last week, a lot of the ladies were asking what would be a good, kind of basic project that they can get started with. And so I was telling them about the mug rugs. And Kimberbell has 3 different design packs that are the mug rugs, and these are good just basic beginner projects. And so this one, I'm going to show you, this is her mug rug volume 1, and are you zooming in? Okay, so this one has different kind of holidays. So it has the pumpkin and the wreath for Christmas, the little gingerbread man, the spider, the cardinal, the snowman. Some really cute ones, and they are basic applique, so applique in the hoop, and then the quilting is done in the hoop, and it's all an in the hoop project. So what I'm going to do is just walk you step by step through this project. Okay, so when you get the CD, it will have the CD in the pack, and you put that in your computer, and then you put a USB stick in your computer so you can transfer the designs from the CD to your USB stick. And I just always go through the little My Computer icon down here. To me it looks like a little yellow folder down there, and you just click on that, and then over here on the side you go to this PC. So this is your computer, and so this is going to be what's on your computer. So you have your CD drive that the CD is in. If you don't have a built-in CD drive, you can get just an external that plugs in, and then you have the external drive that you use. And then it's showing me my USB drive right there is F. So what I'm going to do is just open up that CD. Okay, so once you open up the CD, she has all the different formats listed here. Now, for the machine I'm using today, it's a little Bernat. I just need the EXP format. To me, there's no reason to send all of those designs in all of those different formats to your USB stick. That's just taking up space on your USB stick. So I just send the EXP. So I can just click on that, and you can do this a couple of different ways. You can like drag it down to your USB port. I don't like doing that because sometimes you can drag it and you can put it in the wrong spot. So what I do is I just highlight it and it turns blue, and then I do a right click with the mouse, and then I left click on copy. So I'm just copying it. Then I can go to my USB drive over here, and I can make a folder for it, or I can just put it on the USB drive. So I want it right here. I just click and then do a right click and then paste. So I'm just copying and pasting that format. And so that is the EXP format. Now once I open up that folder, it's going to have all of the designs that are on that CD in that EXP format. And then I'm ready to go. I don't send the instructions and all that to my USB stick. So she does have the instructions in a PDF on your CD. So I'm just going to go back to this PC, okay? And then I can open back up the CD drive or CD-ROM, and see there's a PDF down here, and those are the instructions. So when I open that up, I can just sit here on my computer and read through those instructions. So I don't have to print them off unless you want to. You can print them off, and some people print them off and they put them in a binder and keep everything together. But I just look at them on my computer right here. So we're just going to go step by step through this design. So now we're going to come, then you take your USB stick, put it in the machine, and when I come over here to the machine, I'm going to pull from that USB stick, and I'm going to go into, and there's my little gingerbread man. That's the design that we're going to do today. This machine reads multiple formats, so it's reading the different formats on here, but I just need the one design. I'm going to bring it up and then send it to the sewing machine. What it's going to stitch off first is going to be just a placement line. So what I've done is I've hooped up a piece of cutaway stabilizer. You can use for these mug rugs either the heavyweight cutaway or the medium weight cutaway. Works good. So I've hooped up just a piece of cutaway stabilizer, and that's what we're going to stitch off first is the placement line just directly on this stabilizer. So we're going to start that sewing. First, I'm going to go over what the fabric that I have. So I have a piece of batting that was like a 6x8, and in the instructions it tells you how big a piece to cut. Then I have my backing. This is going to be my back side of my mug rug. I think it was a 6x8 also. Then I have one side of my mug rug, and then the other side of my mug rug. And then this is going to be my gingerbread man, and then the little heart. And if you don't have this pack yet, the Kimberbell the Mug Rug Volume 1, if you come in and you purchase this pack, then you're going to get the kit like this free. And so you'll get the fabric kit for the little gingerbread man that we're doing today. So I've come over and I've stitched off the placement for my piece of batting. That's the first stitch out. Then you lay your piece of batting down, cover up that whole line, make sure you're covering it all up good. And then what it's going to sew next is kind of a tack down. It's going to go straight down the middle here. It's just a basting stitch. Okay, and then I'm going to lay the piece of fabric that's going to be the background fabric for my applique. I'm going to lay that down, and then I'm going, this one is kind of a older style. It's a little bit different than the new packs, but what we're doing is we're laying that first background fabric down, and then we're going to lay the other background fabric, that's my print fabric. I want it to lay down, and we're going to put it right sides together. We're just going to place them together there, and then it's going to sew a seam line. Okay, and once it's done doing that seam line, we have these little fabric folding pins, and you can take that and run it along that seam line, and it has a little kind of starch solution in it, and then you press that over, and that just helps it lay flat. And what it's going to do now is the quilting all over the top of the mug rug. So we're just going to let it quilt that. I'm trying to decide what color I want to do that in. I have brown. Okay, I'll decide what color I want to do that in, and we'll let it do the quilting, and I'll come back when that's done. Okay, we finished stitching the quilting, and we decided to do it in white. And it's kind of cute because it did kind of a little scallop quilt design, and that kind of mimics what's in on the edge of the little gingerbread man, his little icing stripes. So what we're going to do now, we're about to start the applique part of the design, and it's going to applique the gingerbread man and then a little heart. So what it's going to do first is just a placement line for our gingerbread man. So I still have the white thread in the machine, and that's fine. It's going to stitch the placement line, and this is just basically the outline shape of your applique design. And this is just kind of showing you where you're going to lay your piece of fabric for that applique. So that's why they call it a placement line. Okay, then we can see I need to lay my piece of fabric covering that shape. So I'm going to lay it down, covering that shape. Make sure it covers all of it. And then it's going to stitch what they call a tack down. So the next step is going to hold that fabric piece in place. So that's just going to be a straight stitch all the way around. And you can tape these pieces. You can get like the Kimberbell tape, and you can tape these pieces down, or you can spray them with like the 505 spray. That will hold them. Sometimes I don't like doing the 505 spray because we're going to have to cut this shape out, and you get 505 spray all over your fingernails. So the tape is good if you want to tape it down. Okay, so now we need to trim that before we go on to the next step. We need to trim that applique fabric. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to shut this computer so we can lay it down here. This is where curved applique scissors come in handy. And Kimberbell is actually about to come out with a set of their own applique scissors. There's going to be like a little gift set, and it's going to have the duck bill, some snips, I think some tweezers, I think like 4 or 5 different pairs, and we should be getting those in pretty soon. But what I'm going to do is cut along that tack down, that shape of that gingerbread man. So I just kind of pull up the fabric, and then I butt my blade up against the stitches and just take little snips all the way around. And these particular designs, I might come over there so you can see me better. These designs do a pretty wide satin stitch, what they call the cover stitch, that's going to go back and cover all this up here in a minute. And so you don't have to be exact, but you don't want to leave a big like 1/4 inch piece sticking out the edge. Let's see, I'm just going around in little snips all the way around. I've finished trimming all the way around. Okay, now sometimes when you're doing applique, it will go ahead and it will do the cover stitch or the satin stitch around this raw edge. This particular design is not going to, because it's going to come in and do some other little decorative stitches, and it's going to do a little applique heart. So that's what we're going to do next, is the heart. So we're going to put the hoop back on the machine. And it's going to stitch the placement line for the little heart applique. Okay, so that's my placement line. Shows me where to lay my fabric piece down. I'm going to lay that down, and I could tape it if I wanted to. Now it's going to stitch the tack down to hold it in place. Okay, and now I need to trim that. So I'm going to do the same thing, just kind of pull it up and use my scissors, little curved scissors. Go all the way around. Okay. And now, put the hoop on right. Now it's going to do the satin stitch or the cover stitch around that heart. I'm trying to decide, should I do it in white or red? Red? No, I'll do white. White. Okay, we're going to do it in white. Okay, so it's going to start. I'll let you see what it starts doing. So it's going to go around it, kind of do a stay stitch where that satin stitch is going to be, and then it will start doing the satin stitch. That's just a little zigzag stitch. Now, I'm sewing on the little, I'm kind of zoom out so you can see the machine. I'm using the little Bernette 79 machine. It's a combo sewing and embroidery machine both. And we have our floor model here. We're doing kind of a sale on this one. It's $16.99. So this is a really good deal on this floor model. It's a good for just a beginner that's just starting. Or even I thought if somebody has like one of the big 830, 880, 790, one of those embroidery machines, if they want kind of a smaller portable top machine, since this one does both, you can do sewing and embroidery on it. And the screen, if you have like the 7 series or the 880, it operates exactly the same way, so it'd be real easy. So this is kind of a fun one, and I haven't used it in any of the videos, so I thought I would use it today. So when that gets done sewing, we'll come back and do the next step. Okay, see how it did the satin stitch around the heart. And now, if you come up on the screen, what I can tell what it's going to do next is going to be the little icing detail. And so we want to do that in white also. So we'll stitch that, and then we'll come back. Okay, so it stitched the little icing detail, and that's why it waited to do the satin stitch. It wanted to do any little detail stitch first, and what it's going to do now is going to be the satin stitch around the outside of the gingerbread man. So sometimes when you're doing applique, you'll have all 3 steps all in a row. Like when we did the heart, it did the placement line, we laid the fabric down, it did the tack down, we trimmed it, and then it did the satin stitch. So it did all 3 steps right in a row. But doing the gingerbread man, we did the placement line and the tack down first, then it came in and did the detail, and now it's going to go back and do the satin stitch. So sometimes those 3 steps are together, sometimes those 3 steps are kind of spread out, just depending on how the design was created and all. But now I've threaded up with kind of the tan thread, and so we're going to stitch the satin stitch, and then we'll go on. It's going to do the satin stitch around, and then it's going to do his face. So once it's done doing, and I'm going to thread up with black when we do his face, but when it's done doing that, then we'll come back and finish the construction of the mug rug. Okay, so we finished stitching all the little details. So it did the satin stitch around the gingerbread man and his little happy face, and so now we're to finishing the mug rug. Now, like I said, this is what I'm working off of, is her Mug Rug 1 CD. And the way she does the construction, we're going to lay the single back piece down, right side down, on top of that, and then it will stitch all the way around, and it will leave an opening down here at the bottom. We'll trim it, and then we'll turn it right side out, and then you whip stitch that little opening shut. Now in her other 2 CDs, what she does is more kind of like a envelope pillow kind of style, and you have 2 back pieces, and you lay both of those down overlapping. It stitches all the way around, and then you turn it right side out through that opening. So it's just done a little bit different way. So this is again the Mug Rug 1, so it's going to stitch all the way around, leave an opening, and then we'll trim it and turn it right side out. So, and I've threaded up with red thread since I'm using the red background fabric or backing fabric, and so once it's done stitching, we'll come back and I'll show you how to trim it and turn it. Okay, So we finished the construction part and we unhooped it, and then we have taken it to the cutting board and we've trimmed it 1/4 inch away from that final construction line, except for down here at the bottom where that opening is. If you go ahead and kind of jut down and leave you a little bit more fabric here to tuck back under when you after you turn it right side out, that gives you a little bit more space. And then we're going to trim the corners. And so what you do when you trim each of the corners, you go ahead and you cut off that corner, and then go ahead and cut off that extra little nub there on either side. And so that just helps those corners turn a little bit smoother. And then I'm also going to go ahead and kind of cut up to that stitching line here where I've left that little nub part, and that will help that turn back up in there. And now we just turn it right side out through that opening, and it's going to start coming out. And this is not real graceful, so we're going to come back when I'm done doing this, shoving it through this hole. Okay, we got it turned right side out. And we have, these are kind of new to us. They're the OESD point and press tool, and they're just basically super strength pointers. Yeah. And so you can poke those up into the corner, and it's a ball on the end of it, so it won't poke through your fabric and all, but it pokes out that those corners really nice. And then you just press it really well, press it down, and then you have that opening where we turned it right side out, and then you just whip stitch that shut, and it's done. Hey guys, okay, what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you, start over.